You take Judaism out of Islam, the whole religion will collapse. You'll be taking every single prophet aside from the Prophet Muhammad, all of the books, halakha, the jurisprudence, the history, God's rights, what God wants, all of that history, all God's miracles that are in the Quran will have to be removed. Noah and the ark and all that will have to vanish. Islam will collapse. There are many Imams in Arabic who say what I say. I'm not bringing anything new. I'm not inventing anything new. I'm not fringe. I'm just telling you, I only follow the Quran. That's as Muslim as you can be. I didn't even open the Hadith. I didn't open what scholars say here and there. Only the Quran. I don't do any of these liberal issues. I am a strict Muslim, and I want to make sure that Jews claim their land because God wants that. I am protecting my God. I am protecting my religion when I speak what I speak. So many Imams in Farsi, in Turkish, in Arabic, who have been saying what I've been saying for decades. Nothing new from me at all. But I say it in English, and many people hear it for the first time in English. So they wonder if there are other Imams. Yes, the Global Imams Council has a membership of over 1,300 Sunni and Shia Imams. And they all know of my opinions. And they hear them from me in Arabic and Farsi and in English. And they read my tweets. And they will listen to this. And not a single time have I been disciplined or called or rebuked. Nothing. Full support. Whether or not they'll be willing to go the extra mile as I would and risk their family because they live in the Middle East, Iraq, and so on. That's another story. But their belief, no problem. Not a single one of them. The whole council adopted the IRA working definition. Not a single objection came from any imam. In fact, the council has an imam in Israel and not in Jerusalem, in Akko. They have an imam in Akko. His name is Imam Samir Asi, and he's an amazing man. So the council is on the same page as me. Islam is not at war with Judaism, and it was never at war with Judaism. That's what Hamas and those guys preach. Jews do believe in God. Jews are believers. In fact, Islam depends on Judaism in all of its theological and ideological pillars. You take Judaism out of Islam, the whole religion will collapse. You'll be taking every single prophet aside from the Prophet Muhammad, all of the books, halakha, the jurisprudence, the history, God's rights, what God wants, all of that history, all God's miracles that are in the Quran will have to be removed. Noah and the ark and all that will have to vanish. Islam will collapse. You can hear from me as I speak. I'm being honest with you. If you want me to fabricate and sugarcoat, Imams are the best at fabricating stuff and sugarcoating. You know, I can make it sound sweet to you and convert you or convert some of you. But I am honest with you. And that's why I'm always in trouble with the media. I only have to protect and die for Mecca and Medina and the holy sites which were established by God and his prophets. If the Jews, anyone in this webinar, decides to go to Medina or Mecca and say that is Jewish land and put the flag of Israel, we will have problems because that is my land. Nobody's touching that. That is my religious land. I die for that land. We will defend it, we will protect it. And I expect you to do the same for your holy land. So you're telling me as Jews, you don't want Mecca and Medina. You want your land. And you're showing me a title, a land title from my book. So I would have to be Satan to steal from Moses and Solomon and David, God's prophets, even if I don't like Jews, which I love you. But even if Muslims don't like, some Muslim extremists don't like Jews, stealing from God's prophets is a different story. That belongs to God's prophets and their nations who happen to be the Jews. Disagreements can happen. But it does not mean that the verses of conflict should continue until today. There is no such order at all. No such order. The Abraham Accords is valuable to the Jewish nation, valuable to Israel, but we all know they were always closet Zionists. We all know. We all know that Saudi Arabia gave them the green light, the UAE and Bahrain. Otherwise, such a decision would never happen without Saudi Arabia's approval. And Oman supported. And Oman is a player, not a pivot in the region. So we all know they supported Israel. We all know. But the Abraham Accords was a nice way to package it to the rest of the world. This is a new page, an official page where we can have embassies and ambassadors and all of that. Otherwise, they all know very well that the land is theirs. I mean, go on Clubhouse and I don't know if you can understand Arabic. The Arabic rooms are in there hundreds of people early in the morning, and they speak about how Israel belongs to the Jews, and the Palestinians are the occupiers, and everything's the other way around. So they know very well that it's Jewish land. So the Abraham Accords was just a way to package it and to make things official, put it in writing. It was verbal, now it's in writing. So we all knew it had existed on the ground. Why do we always care about what the extremists think? Why? There will always be extremists. Let them think how they want to think. Let them interpret however they want to interpret. They're not important. What's important is who is in power. Right now, the UAE is very clear that they're heading in a direction where they're beyond social reform. The Westerners, the non-Muslims love honeymooning and visiting the UAE. It's even more open than some areas in America. The extremists are irrelevant. They are irrelevant. Their interpretation is irrelevant. Yes, they have some degree of power, but where is the Muslim world heading? Who runs the Muslim world? That's the question mark. Who runs the Muslim world? It's Saudi Arabia. It's the UAE. It's Oman. Iran to a certain extent, but they don't have Mecca and they don't have Medina. Mecca and Medina are in Saudi Arabia. They run the religion. I'm not Sunni, I'm Shia. They're Sunnis, but it's a fact we all know. They run the religion. So Muslim Brotherhood do not run the religion. They run organizations and people who are loud on Twitter. But psychology says you see a tweet, you forget it when you see the next tweet. It doesn't change reality. It's not real life. They're loud, but it's not real life. We need to distinguish between these guys. Extremists are not important. Because many times people tell me, or they come on Clubhouse and they say, you don't represent us. I say, thank God I don't represent you. I'd be very worried if I represent you. Very happy I don't represent you. Imagine that. Extremist says, good on you, Imam Tawhidi. I'd bury myself alive. That's the biggest shame. So we should not care about what they have to say at all. So they will always exist. Their interpretations have been twisted for centuries in every religion. They are the same group of people that we have in every single religion. Let them say what they want to say. We focus on what we know to be the truth. Extremists are very weak and they're loud, they're rich, very well funded by governments, unfortunately, Qatar, Al Jazeera, the Iranian regime, and their friends. But, who thought 5 years ago that an entire Muslim nation, the UAE, would flip so publicly into open Zionists who believe in the state of Israel and want to travel? Who thought? If you told me that 5 years ago, I would have said impossible. And I'm someone who advocated for the acceptance of Israel. Nobody would believe you 5 years ago. But like that, it happened. What does that mean? That means the ground is ready for that. And these are people who don't believe they're going against God. They believe they're really serving their religion. God gave the land to the Jews. End of story. We're going to continue fighting. We can't continue fighting. So extremists are not in power. They will exist, but they cannot really throw us off track. They cannot. You're coming towards me as a Jew, and I'm coming towards you as a Muslim, and we're hugging. What's the extremists going to do? Rip us apart? They'll try every now and then, but ultimately, if we have the same focus, it's like a magnet. We're going to meet at one point, and we're going to build those bridges, and you have to make them irrelevant. We have to make them irrelevant by just ignoring them.
Any time anyone criticizes the person who is Muslim, no matter what they say, who they are, or what issue they have spoken of, the immediate label is that you're racist, you're Islamophobic, you're discriminatory, you get discounted, and you can't be. We are the ones whose reputations and livelihoods are at risk. Can you talk to that? I mean, can you say how criticism or questioning can be brought forward without destroying the lives of those who ask?
No, you can't, because that's how the far left wanted it. They created this culture to destroy those who disagreed with them, like what they've tried to do with me. They want to destroy. So if I come out and I say the imams who support Hamas are extremists, they're fundamentalists, they're liars, we need peace with the Jews, they say about me, he can't be a real Muslim. He's a fake. The real Muslim is the guy who wants to kill the Jews. They are the real bigots and racists because they don't accept someone like me because I'm not the right type of a Muslim. Whereas they're falling in their own trap. But again, I speak as a Muslim and as a Middle Eastern. I couldn't care less what someone with pronouns has to say, whose hair is purple or blue, and who doesn't know anything about the real world. You put them in a desert, they couldn't survive for 5 hours, right? We are men. We don't play these games. I will say what I want to say, and the left can do what it wants. And also the far right, they're also horrible towards me, right? They see me as no hope whatsoever. All Muslims, bad. There's no hope for us. All of us should be incarcerated. These people are also sick.
That's
Right?
true.
So we need to be
More courageous. We need people to be more courageous.
and also never stop.
Yeah.
The moment you stop, they've won, and the extremists have won. You cannot stop, because this is not an issue of society. This is an issue of your right and your God and your religion and your land. You know, Hamas doesn't want you to basically say that they are right. No, they want you dead. You know, it's not like they just want you to stop tweeting about them. No, they want to drive all of you into the ocean. So who cares at that point what the far left has to say and what they think? You're fighting an issue of existence. These are criminals, and even the far left knows they're criminals. So just ignore, because we get the same thing. We also get the same thing. We get called Islamophobe, but you open you go and you see who's saying it, right? Who's saying it? They're not real. They're not people we take seriously. Not
Okay.
people we take seriously at all. Where I come from, we don't take these people seriously, even if they are prime ministers or ministers or any of that. We don't feel threatened by them. To me, Israel is a sovereign state. That's how I see it. It acknowledges the UN that the Palestinian Authority go to complain and to vote against Israel. They acknowledge Israel as a state, the same way they acknowledge Saudi Arabia as a state, and Bahrain and the UAE and Australia and America. These are sovereign countries, and Israel is acknowledged as a sovereign country. So let them say whatever they want to say. It's a sovereign country, and it behaves in a sovereign way. You see, my friends, the West has a view of countries. You can't do that. No, we can. Nobody tells Saudi Arabia what it can and can't do. Nobody tells the UAE what it can and can't do, because that is a sovereign country. Why is it when Israel wants to do something, it has to, before it does anything, issue a whole portfolio explaining why this is good and why? Why? And the Palestinians and the UN and Hamas and all of these people, they should pray to God a million times a day that their war is with Israel and that their war is not with the UAE or Saudi Arabia. Try throwing one rocket into Saudi Arabia and then thank the Iranian regime for funding you after throwing that rocket. See what will happen. And try hiding your weapons and rocks in Al-Aqsa Mosque and in the Dome of the Rock and throwing it at Saudis. Try doing that. Use that as a base during conflict. See what will happen. They will level you and the mosque with the ground. That's how they operate. Why? Because they're a sovereign state. And that is how the world, that's where we come from. That's how we grew up, okay? That's how we grew up. That's our society. It's not like that in the West. In the West, there's human rights. Yeah, okay. But if you throw a rocket, right, the leader has two options. He sits and does nothing like a coward, or he responds. And in every case, it has been a response. In every case. That's why they don't throw rockets at anyone else who has embassies in Israel and who have Israeli embassies and who acknowledges Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel, because they know Muslims will not tolerate this. It's only Israel. And Israel is to blame. See, again, I talk as an Arab. Israel is to blame, because if Israel behaves like the rest of the countries in the region and says, you know what, we're going to do what we want to do. We will defend ourselves the way we want to defend ourselves. Whether you like it or not, then the people will realize there's no point in attacking you. But when Israel continues to say, we are a democracy, we're the only democracy in the Middle East. Every time Israel is mentioned, immediately after that, the only democracy in the Middle East. Who cares if Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East? I don't care. I don't care. Who said democracy is good? Look, now you have Muslim Brotherhood in your coalition. Is that good? Who said democracy was good? Who said? Israel is a Jewish state, be it a theocracy, be it a kingdom, be it a democracy, be it whatever. They have the right to govern themselves the way they want. We don't tell Jews you're good because you're a democracy. We don't tell them we're going to let you live because we're going to give you support because you're a democracy? No. Today, democracies are seen as good. Maybe 5,000 years from now, people will be against democracy. The same way now they're against communism. So what? We're going to fight Israel because it's a democracy? 5,000 years from now, if the narrative changes? No. Israel is a Jewish state. It's sovereign. It's sovereign as a kingdom. If it wants to be a kingdom, it's sovereign as whatever form of government it wants to rule by. We don't tell Jews how to live and how to defend themselves and what their Torah tells them. Why do you tolerate it? Okay, try telling the Muslims or Iraqis what the Quran, how they should rule their people and how they should govern. Only Israel tolerates it. I mean, you don't really tolerate it, but the response should be equal to the response of those in the region. Foreign Minister of the UAE, whenever he's asked a question, his responses are in English, sometimes to the Western media, because CNN, they try their luck with the Middle Eastern politicians. They put them in their place immediately in English, and they don't even rely on the interpreter. They switch to English and they put them in their place, and then they go back to speaking in Arabic. That's how we live. And that's why nobody does the same thing to us. You live in the middle of all of us. But the Israelis want to operate like how California operates. You cannot do that. You cannot live in the middle of Arabs and want to behave like how they behave in Times Square, New York. That level of tolerance, you will not be able to survive as a Jewish people. You need to behave tough because your neighbors are treating you in a very tough way. That's the only way. So stay in the UN like a fork in their eyes. Say what you have to say and don't worry about it. Don't leave the UN. I'm against it.
If you have a 401k or an IRA, please listen. Gold is at record highs. What many people don't know is this: you can move part of your retirement money legally and without tax penalties into physical gold you actually own. Alpha Omega Gold helps you do this through a gold IRA. Your gold is real. It is stored safely. It is in your name. Learn more at ao.gold/stand. Alpha Omega Gold is our sponsor, and they proudly stand with Israel.